Hello all, BowTieSecurityGuy here. I'm just going to pop up for a moment and talk to you about one of our sponsors, clipfinder.org. I love them. I've been using them for a while. They take long form videos and create short form content. It's super easy to use, completely mindless, and allows you to grow your social and your brand relatively quickly. I've increased my social, clicks and all that stuff through YouTube by, literally 10, 20,000 just by incorporating shorts into my content. It's incredibly important to take some time to do that, but it also takes a lot of time to edit those videos. Clipfinder.org makes it easy. If you're looking for a way to support my sponsors or support the channel, please take a look, create an account, and check them out. Now, on with the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bowtie Security Guy After Dark. I'm just no longer going to give numbers because it's a hassle and to remember what episode I'm on. So my guest today is Adrian Sanabria. Adrian, you have been in technology for as long as I have. We are quite seasoned, as we call it. Tell me a little bit about kind of what your childhood was like. Were you like a tinkerer? Did you play around a lot? Like how did that all kind of start your journey?
Yeah, 100%. I was the kid taking stuff apart, right? A big fan of Legos, big fan of video games. Would read any book that I came into contact with. I'm sure it was made things somewhat easier on my parents that they could just hand me a book, and from the age of 5 on, I'd just be gone until that book was just completely consumed. Yeah, and I think we got our first computer. I believe it was 1986, so I would have been 7 years old, and it was a Tandy 1000, and no hard drive, just two 5 and a quarters. So DOS would hang out in one for you to boot off of, and then whatever software you wanted to run would be in that second drive, and yeah, it was it wasn't until college though, until I had my own computer. My parents bought me a computer when I went to college. Then I took the whole thing apart, put it back together. Like the internet. I had 10 meg link, a hard link at in the dorms at University of Tennessee, and just like everything I could get down over that link, every piece of software, every corner of the internet. Back then you could explore most of the internet. Back in 1997, there wasn't that much of it yet, and yeah, that's I think that's when the love of computers really hit me, and it hit me that I might have a career in that.
which is crazy, right? I think I was the same way. I was that tinkerer, kind of always playing and always kind of trying to figure stuff out and learning on the fly. And I feel like a lot of what we do now for these younger kids is we're removing that ability. Like, especially with AI and stuff. And you and I both have a hot take on that, which we'll get into. But
Mhm.
I feel like our ability to explore in what we did back then was critical to how we are now as security practitioners. That kind of innate curiosity, I feel like, is going away, and more people are becoming complacent. Are you seeing similar as far as like who you work with and just kind of the different people that you engage with, that a lot of that, building a home lab and breaking stuff, like people just aren't doing that at all?
Yeah. It's so I have adult children. Both me and my partner have adult children, age between 19 and 26. Four of them, two for me, two for my partner. And yeah, what we've observed is just, and this has been pretty well studied, is just the kind of loss of attention, right? And very much by design, because the internet is paid for with advertisements.
Right.
That's how these applications were designed, is to just keep your attention. And as people go through TikTok, just 10 seconds here, 2 seconds there, 5 seconds there, maybe 30 seconds. 30
Yeah.
seconds is a really long video. Back in the day, we would spend days on something. You talk to a lot of people who've been in security for a while, especially those that go deep down one particular rabbit hole, like
Oh
malware
yeah,
analysis or something like that. Um, or even pulling apart hardware and decompiling things and reverse engineering things. You'd have somebody who would stay focused on a single thing for days. And I'm not sure that we've really uh, given these generations the tools to be able to do that. It's really
I agree.
really tough to do. I limited my kids access to computers when they were younger, but once they were teenagers,
I'm
it's
still
it
trying. I've got a
hard to limit it.
14-year-old, yeah, who
Yeah.
has very limited access to the internet, except for school stuff, has no social media, and then
Mm.
limited access to her
At
cell phone.
15.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're lucky enough where we homeschool, so we can kind of
Yeah. That makes it easier
control
for sure. You don't
it
have
a
that
lot
peer
easier.
pressure. Yeah.
It's that not that constant peer pressure, right? And even when they go, like she does a lot of theater groups and things of that nature, which are awesome, and she does a lot of stuff in the community. But at that time, you're there for a purpose, so it's not
Yeah.
there's not as much peer pressure as there is in school, where kids are showing the latest memes, the latest videos, and it's that constant kind of drive. And I don't know if I'm doing her a disservice by keeping her a
Mm.
child longer, or if it's something that's going to benefit her later because her childhood wasn't basically created and morphed. We were
Yeah.
out yesterday, and the girl in front of us was 7 years old, and her caretaker, her grandmother, whoever was with her today, was like, talking to her and saying like, "Oh, well, you can see this on TikTok." And the lady goes, "Well, I don't have TikTok." And she's like, "I have TikTok. Why don't you have TikTok?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
exposing a mind that young to social
Yeah.
media is really sad to me.
Yeah. And
Because it just creates that constant need, right, of that instant gratification.
yes. And you're hitting on it there. I think delayed gratification is the skill that you have to
Yeah.
learn. And what delayed gratification means is sitting in failure and repeating something. And I'm a musician too. I've been playing, so I played instruments in school. I was a band kid in school, but also picked up guitar at 12 and bass guitar at 13. And I've been playing those instruments my whole life. And yeah, you've got to be okay if you suck for a while, right?
Yeah.
You have to be okay with that. And it's something where you just have to you have to have this drive to stick with it. And that dopamine hit is maybe months away, right?
Yes.
Hours away, days away. And you've got to be okay with just not being good at something for a very long period of time. And then when it hits, oh my god, it's so satisfying, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Like
when's so you're a musician like myself. Like when you first hit that chord for "Smoke on the Water," you hit it the right
yeah,
way, and like
yeah,
just those things. Or when you finally got your pinky to listen to you after years of just like you're like,
yeah.
why aren't you doing what I tell you?
Yeah,
It's
and you get the calluses, and it doesn't hurt to hold the strings
yeah,
down anymore. And
yeah.
yeah, you get your first one without the strings buzzing because you can press it down hard enough without it hurting your fingers. Yeah,
It's those little wins that I feel like we're removing. And I talk to a lot of young kids, and I work with a lot of young kids, and there's a lot of young kids who listen to this podcast who are in their
mm,
20s and stuff like that, who are trying to get into cyber and technology. And I'm like, don't chase cyber, chase the basics. Like learn the
mm,
basics of like
yeah,
computers, learn how data travels over a network. Learn soft skills,
right.
because
Yeah,
those
that
are going to
was
get you further than
the
anything
first
else.
time I heard about somebody just going straight into cyber. I was like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me
Yeah,
because there's so,
yeah.
so much foundational stuff you have to have.
And
Like
if you don't,
cyber doesn't
yeah,
exist in
no.
isolation.
Can you imagine the imposter syndrome? Like we all probably went through it, just like we both did, where we had really bad imposter syndrome. Can you imagine if you literally had no core knowledge? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it would be crippling,
Like
right?
pen testing is an entry level job in cyber. Like that
Apparently.
that is literally the combination of just tons and
All your
tons of
skills.
knowledge. Yeah,
Yeah.
you But I've trained pen testers where they get access to a database and they're like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And I have to, I don't know, maybe find a cheat sheet or something. Like, have to teach them how to explore a database, right? Okay, it's an Oracle database. You select star from all tab columns, and maybe search for something with payment data in it, or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
But yeah,
Look for
every
16
database has
characters in a row, things of
yeah,
that
every
nature.
database has that one table that lists all the tables and all the columns, so that's kind of your directory for the database. But if you've never used a database before and you hacked into one,
Yeah.
you got to have this, you got to get all that foundational knowledge first. And it doesn't, okay, maybe you're missing database, but you're really good on Linux or some
Sure.
other areas. But you got to have some foundation to then layer on top of, hey, I'm going to secure this, or I'm going to hack this. Like,
Yeah.
I ran into a lot of people in my career, and not even just in cyber, like developers too. Like, I remember having to explain why you have to close your objects
Yeah.
in your code. You get memory leaks, and our servers don't have infinite memory, right? This application is running out of memory in the middle of the day, and then the call centers can't have to tell people on the phone, our systems are updating right now, could you call back later? And I remember this one woman I worked with specialized in tweaking, optimizing database performance. And at Wednesday at 3 p.m. one day, she decides to take down our main CRM database to make some performance enhancements. And we had to explain to her, you can't just take it down in the middle of the day when there's 1,200 people using in the call center using this thing. Um, just, and of course, when you're hacking stuff, when you're a pen tester, is this exploit, is there some chance it's going to make the thing fall over? And the thing you're about to make fall over, is how important is it? Are people using it? Is it driving
Yeah.
revenue? How much trouble are you going to be in? You need to have some sense of these things before you start just firing, autopwn and metasploit or something like that.
Well, I feel like a lot of the core skills that you need are being bypassed, right? And
Yeah.
people are looking at cyber as an entry level career, and I keep telling people cyber is not entry level.
Yeah.
It's not. We'd love it to be, right? That'd be great, but you need to know so much foundational knowledge. Like, for instance, when you got your first like sales job as a sales associate at CompUSA, how did you land that job? Like, what did you do to kind of get that first opportunity in technology? Was it just like you walked
Yeah.
in and said, "Hey, I'm here to hang out," or
Yeah,
did you have
no,
to
it was
demonstrate
it
some
was an
skills?
interview, and a lot of that interview was just testing to see if you knew anything about computers, if you could handle a conversation about technical stuff about computers. And of course, at that point, that was after I had taken apart my computer, put it back together, tried all the software and the
Same.
internet. So I was able to walk the walk there. I was able, because that was, it says sales associate, but 90% of the job is just helping people find things. And
Yeah.
what I loved about the job is somebody would come in and they say, "Yeah, I want to digitize my old vinyl, my old LPs. What do I need to do that?" Okay, here's a piece of software you can use to do that. You also need a card with RCA input so you can plug your record player into the computer. So here's an ISA card that a Creative Labs Sound Blaster,
Sound blaster.
yeah, ISA card with RCA inputs, and now you can plug it directly in, and you hit record on the software, and you hit play on the you drop the needle on the record player. And I just absolutely loved helping people figure out these problems. But yeah, that was the interview, was like, this is what you're going to be doing day in and day out. Looking things up in the computer. Yeah, that says there's one more in inventory. Let me go back. Like that was like 50% of it. And just going to find things that we should have had in stock. We don't know why there's one in inventory. Nobody can find it.
Yeah.
And then the other half was helping people solve their problems. Figure out what they needed to buy, or
Yeah.
what not to buy. Right, like, don't get the Memorex CDRs. They're trash.
Yeah. Don't get that zip drive. It'll start clicking on you. We're showing our
We sold a
seasonedness.
lot of zip drives. Yeah.
So let's look at it this way. So when you got your first cyber gig, what was your first job that was like cyber or cyber adjacent? Like how old
Yeah.
were you and how did you end up getting that opportunity?
So I guess I was so it was June of 2001. I joined a large one of the world's largest payment processors. Luckily, I had a good friend who was a manager there, and he took a chance on me and hired me in because like we knew each other socially, and we had done like computer projects together. So he had a general idea of my skills, and it was not in security, but I did start doing security work almost immediately when I joined because they just had one person in security, and
Yeah.
back then, like the reason he was in the security team is because he screwed something up on the IT side, and they Peter Principled him over to
There
so
you go.
Peter Principle is this old
When we'll
British
be
book that just describes like people failing upward.
exactly.
Their their incompetence fails them upward into some VP role where they can't do any damage, right?
That's really
And
funny.
that was him, and he didn't know how to run an investigation, and I didn't have any experience running investigations either, but I figured it out on the fly. So almost 2 weeks into it, I'm doing an internal investigation, that turned out to be corporate espionage, or not espionage. Yeah, I guess you would call it espionage. He was selling data. He was selling our data,
Oh wow.
and making money off it. Yeah, so we would sign up new merchants, and there's like a credit check, the equivalent of like a business credit check, and if you fail that credit check, we had like certain minimums, we would decline you. But there were other credit card processors that had lower standards, right? And this guy was getting a referral fee for each of these declines. He would send to
Oh
this other
man.
credit card processor with lower standards. And eventually, one of these companies accused us of selling their data because they're like, "You're the only one I've tried to get a credit card terminal from." So we would, we did online transactions even back then, but it was mostly sending out credit card terminals. The type you find in a coffee shop or something like that. Um, Swipe a credit card on. Now it's tap to pay for most of it, um, but yeah, he did that. He got away with that for about 3 months before one of our customers called us, complained. We figured out who was doing it, and I had to go back through the logs, and the logs crossed daylight savings time, but they were in UTC. So I'm
Yeah.
sitting here like looking at his badge in, badge out times, to correlate all this with him to make sure that it is him doing it. How many times has he done it?
Doing
And
digital
he made a couple.
forensics, no idea what you're doing, just kind of figuring it out.
Yeah, yeah, no idea. Didn't know anything about. It wasn't until 4 years later I went to in 2005. I went to SANS 504, the GCIH class, which is the incident handling class, with Ed Scotus, and so at that time I was just making it up as I went along, and I continued doing investigations even before I was in security. So I was production support is what they called it, and basically we're like the liaison between administrators and the developers and the users. So the
Yeah.
users would complain about something. You don't want to have the users talking to the developers and the engineers and the admins directly. They don't know how to talk to people. So kind of like from Office Space. I'm that people person.
Yeah.
So what do you what would you say you do here? I take the engineering drawings, because I'm a people person.
Yeah. Well, it's
I
so
don't know if
true
you
too.
remember that scene.
I do, and it's such a great scene because it's so telling about this market that we're in, and kind of how the cyber market has shifted over the last few years, where like being technical was previously good enough,
Yeah,
but now I think it's so much more relevant to be able to explain things in a
yeah.
simple way than it is to actually be
Translate.
able
Yeah.
to do that is such a core skill. And I see a lot of the work that you've done, with DEF CON groups, and then B-sides Knoxville.
Mhm.
How important do you think it is for a new person to kind of put themselves out there and to get themselves in front of people? Because I've had that conversation many times where I explained to them, I'm not going to hire a new person I don't know or isn't a reference.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I
have
don't
you
think I've
ever
gotten a
brought somebody
single,
in? Yeah.
I don't think I've gotten a single job with a resume. Right.
No.
So I also didn't finish college. I dropped out of college. I wasn't sure that I wanted to do
Yeah.
computers. I considered going to culinary school. I was also playing music. So I was like, screw it. Like I'll just see what it's like. See if I can get a job in the industry. And I did internet tech support for a while before I got that first um, real career gig that at the credit card processor. That's what I consider my first real gig. But yeah, it was and I was there for 7.5 years, something like that. And that was a real, kind of sweat and buckets moment. Can I get I got this job and I held this job for a while.
Can I
Am I
get
going to
another
be able
one?
to, how hard is it going to be to get that second job,
Yeah.
where I don't know anybody, I don't have a buddy working there. And I think I kind of knew the people there a little bit. I hadn't really done a lot of community stuff, and that was a consulting job where I was going to be a pen tester and a PCI QSA, and I was really nervous about that. And I landed the job, and I was really happy that I did. And I had a great mentor there, Dave Shackelford, and Dave. Convinced me to go to DEF CON, to get involved in the community, to start a blog. So he's the reason I started all those things and got involved in the community. So I've had some really, really good mentors over the years.
Yeah.
I've
Same.
lucked out with that.
Without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Period. Right.
Yeah,
And unless I had those hard conversations and somebody telling me, yes, that's great, but here's what actually you need to do. Like, this is the reality of business. Yep, you're really technical, you're super smart, that's fantastic, but without communication skills, you're not going to be able to do anything you want to do. And
yeah,
I'm like you too. I didn't even drop out of college. I just didn't go. I was like, hey, I could eat or I could go to college. I'm not going to go into debt, and I'm not going to. I had already started
hmm
my own company in my 20s where I was doing computer repair stuff, and I was like, well,
hmm
college is going to teach me to basically come do exactly what I'm already doing, and I'm going to have to pay somebody for that privilege. Have you? And I have personally found it career limiting at times where there's certain employers and certain companies that
yeah,
were very much like, hey, you don't have a degree, sorry,
yeah. Only
have you
once have I
have
run
you
into that.
yeah, and I've only
But
seen it once too,
it
but it
was a
wasn't
huge
that.
bummer. It was a gig at Capital One, and Capital
Yeah.
One has like an army of software engineers that do nothing but build security software in house. It's a very exciting sounding environment. Uh, I knew the lead security guy there, who's still there, and he invited me to apply for the role, and I didn't get past HR, and I was really bummed about that. It was a hard, no college degree,
Yep.
no need to apply here situation, and it was going to be like project manager for building that software. So I'd
That
be
would have
kind of
been
like
cool.
like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, guiding the pipeline for these hundreds of developers just making cool security tools internally for Capital One. So I was very bummed about that, but that was the only time I really ran into that. Most of the rest of my career, people would actually come to me, right? Because I was doing community stuff. People knew of me. I kind of stepped into some of these leadership roles with the community stuff that I was doing, and that made me visible enough that people would come to me and say, "Hey, would you be interested in a role?" And you can't be in a better position than someone coming to
No,
you
I
and,
agree.
and offering you a job instead of you having to go and hunt for it. And the way you do that is you make yourself visible in a very positive way.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this, and I know how it is with me, but I'm gonna. Did you do those things, the outreach, the helping, the kind of building, these programs for besides Knoxville? Did you do it for the visibility, or did you do it because it was something you were passionate about?
No, no, I did it because it seemed like it'd be fun, right?
Right.
it,
That's the key, right? And
yeah.
if you're doing it for
Like
selfish reasons, I feel
me
like
and
it
my
doesn't
friends,
work.
and I'm going to make new friends, and we're going to get together, and we're going to hack stuff,
I'm
and it's
gonna
going to
hang
be
out with a bunch
awesome.
of
Like
nerds
that
and we're
that's
gonna get to
that's the
do
reason for
cool
doing
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so much of the cyber market right now, especially with some of the newer kids, is very much a demand market where they're like, I
Yeah.
demand you give this to me, or I'm only doing this
Yeah.
because I have to.
Right.
And
So
if
that
that's the
attitude is
mindset,
so important. Like
yep,
we've got an ISC squared chapter here. I remember one, the person who took the president role did absolutely nothing. Like it was obvious that they took the role just to be able to put on their LinkedIn that they're the president of the local ISC squared chapter, and that, it's so that's why I say in a positive way, because you can try and grab that public attention and it be extremely negative if you don't go into it with the
oh
right
yeah,
attitude, with the right goals.
yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be about helping people.
Help others before you help yourself. It's the airplane mask theory, right? Like, take a
No,
moment to
actually
put
that's
on
the
someone
opposite.
else's
You
mask.
gotta put on your own mask before helping others, but you are helping others.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
so
valid.
this is an important point because what is the term? It's a term that nursing folks know well, but it's like concern fatigue, but concern isn't the word. I forget what the word is, but basically, like you care so much about others, you have these people that will forget
Stop
to
caring
eat,
about
just
yourself.
run
Yep,
themselves ragged,
I
trying
do
to
that.
trying to help
Yeah,
others. So yeah, put on your own mask before helping others. Like you have to be healthy and happy and taking care of yourself before you can really help others. And I've seen people, just absolutely, like almost literally killing themselves. I remember I
yeah.
volunteered at a horse rescue, and twice a year we would do these big events, have a bunch of people come in to raise money for this horse rescue. And this one lady, like she wouldn't sleep. She would pull like two all nighters in a row, and she was literally falling over. And yeah, it's not good. It's
No, that, that,
like
that, that was me, my first security job, right? Just kind of burning myself to
yeah,
the ground, and not focusing on mental health, not focusing on
yeah.
taking care of myself, not focusing on any of those things that were critical.
I think
Like you
these younger
said,
generations have a better handle on that, on
I
like
think they
work-life
do too. I
balance and
think that
stuff like
burnout
that.
culture is dying.
Yeah.
I feel like they just won't they
But at the
won't
same
tolerate
time,
it
we have
anymore.
the like 6 9s or something. Like things are also going to the other extreme. There are these jobs where I've got a good friend of mine who's a fractional CISO was talking to a company about a full time CISO gig there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, and we do 6 9s. Is that okay?" That's 9 hours a day, 6 days a week, right? Can you imagine? Like, oh,
I had multiple jobs when I got laid off. I had multiple jobs that when I interviewed them, they made it very clear that their expectation of me was to work significantly more than 40 hours a week.
yeah.
And not only that, they weren't just looking for a leader. This is a problem too, and you kind of hit on it a
At
little
least
bit.
they were upfront about it. So
I
you can be
totally,
like,
and I thank them
nope.
for that. Yeah. So many people will get into an opportunity, and it's, a great example is getting into pen testing. You and I
Yeah.
have both been pen testers. The job is cool, but it's also really boring. It's like
Hmm.
you do the same stuff a lot of times, and once
And
you've
kind of
done it for
depressing, depending on what
it can
clients you're
be.
working with.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, especially if you found the same stuff you found last year.
Yeah.
Like, your
Exactly
job
that.
just becomes,
And it's a children's hospital.
yes, or a movie theater, or all kinds of stuff. Like, I've ran into that where I'm like, "Hey, I found this last year.
Yeah.
we we still haven't spent any time. This is a really easy
This
fix.
domain admin account I created 3 years ago, still
Yeah, it's
here.
still there. Like, you've left it. I told you to delete it.
Why am I
This is,
here?
yeah. It there's so much of the job in security that makes you question why you're here. That is
Yeah.
a great thing to say, is you have
Well,
many moments where you go, why do I even
so it's
do
a
this? No,
it's a
no.
really it's a really tough thing because a lot of people that get into cybersecurity are mission oriented. So
Yeah.
they're, your emotions, you're very deeply committed to it, and uh, it's really frustrating. to find that you can't have an influence, you can't have an impact.
Yeah.
And folks like that really have to find those jobs where they have an opportunity to make some kind of impact. And it's, that one job that I worked for 7 years, I think that's the longest I stayed anywhere. And I was deeply depressed at that job by the time I left, because there was just nothing I could do. Right. We wrote all the documentation. We tried to weave security into the development life cycle, and just a lot of things. It was clear it was never going to change. Right.
Yeah.
Like, we security, I think, only went up to director level and rolled up through IT. And it was just like something we had to do because PCI was a thing. Right.
Yep.
Because regulations kind of forced us to. So, yeah, I was very happy to move to pen testing, and then that was depressing for different reasons that we just.
So many people look at this job as this flashy, awesome thing. I was in incident response for several years, which is like a
Yeah.
job that everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's a super cool job." Yes,
Yeah.
but it is an amazing job, but it is incredibly easy to get burned out. It is incredibly easy to push yourself too hard. It is incredibly easy to become obsessive about solving risk and finding how they got in and spending literally hours. And then, like you said, sacrificing a lot of yourself and sacrificing your health. Like that is a very common problem within IR. So much so companies that specifically do IR, like Phoenix 24 and some of the other big ones, that's all they do is IR. Like their focus on mental
Yeah.
health is through the roof, right? Because that
Yeah.
is the most
Well, it
important.
has to be, right.
It
Because they
does.
can't afford to churn
No,
employees.
no,
Yeah.
and it's such a hard job, and I don't think people understand the sacrifice. And yep, you can make good money, but you're putting a lot of hours in, and you're sacrificing a lot of family time. You know,
Yeah.
working in any sort of operational role in security, which a lot of these jobs are. As you start out, you're going to be overnights. You're going to be in the kind of garbage shift. You're going to have to work your way up to kind of get those better opportunities. But what I'm seeing more and more of is, because the hustle culture is dying,
Hmm.
so is the drive to take something lower and work your way up.
So it's interesting. I think it's good and bad. Obviously, you shouldn't be required, to work torturous hours or anything like
Right.
that. But when you're younger and you need to start stacking up experience, I don't think anybody forced me to work 70, 80-hour weeks at that first job. I did it just because there was so much to learn and I
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
learn it. Like, I would volunteer myself for stuff, and maybe regret it later, but
The
later on
imposter
in my
syndrome
career.
too doesn't help, right? Where the imposter
Right.
syndrome's driving you to prove yourself. So you're like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll take that on.
But I think there is something for, what, like the first 4 or 5 years, just head down, gonna learn as much as I can learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, the company's toxic. Yeah, they're working me too many hours. But as long as you're stacking up that experience, and I think this is very important because I have seen people in slower roles that were very relaxed. It's a 9 to 5. You come, you go, and you never have to work overtime. But also, 10 years of that, they've learned like less than what someone in that other job learns in 6 months. Right. So at the same time, you have to be. And I think a lot of this just depends on the person. Not
Yeah.
everybody has my insatiable appetite for learning things. Right. So, if that comes naturally to you, let that loose in those first couple jobs. Put your
Yeah.
hand up for doing extra work for learning extra things. But also in the back of your mind, remember, okay, at some point, like, I've got to sleep and this has to slow down, and
I
I have to care about my health.
yeah, I did exactly that. So when I first got into security at Disney, I just kept accepting everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I'll do that. And my
Well, for some of us,
ADHD
saying
and my
no is hard.
caution, saying no was impossible for me, especially because I was a poor college, kid with no college who was like
Yeah.
previously
Yeah.
homeless, who somehow scored a job at a Fortune 100 and like was just so determined to prove his worth.
Yeah.
And and I've told the story a few times, but I think it has merit because I'm sure you can relate. When we were talking to the recruiter after I had left my operations role, the recruiter's like, well, tell me what you do. And I told her all the teams that I manage. I told her all the incident bridges that I do. I told her all the stuff that I take care of. And she goes, okay, well, so you need someone who's highly technical. You need somebody who understands technical people, can also build teams, remediate stuff, and do all these things. She's like, you don't need one person, you need three.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I had realized that I had made a fundamental mistake where
Yeah.
I don't regret it because it does make me more thankful now for like a normal life and a normal schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is something where I think if you do your time and you really dive in head first, like you said, give it like 3 or 4 years. I gave it a decade
Yeah.
of doing that, but like give it a good 4 years of your life. It's going to pay off in spades because when things do get hot, you're not going to feel the pressure because you've lived in that existence previously.
Right.
And same with like working incident response for as long as I did. When when an incident happens or when something critical happens, I'm just completely chill. It's like, oh yeah, I've
Yeah.
done this
Same here.
done this a
I
hundred
think it's a
times.
personality type too,
I
right?
agree. I
Like
agree. Yeah.
having ADHD, an event like that, like I focus really well
Same.
when the pressure's on. I used to, I was a chef in my teenage years. I worked in kitchens, and same thing. Dinner rush on a Friday night, on a Saturday
Oh
night,
god, yeah.
something like that. I
I'm
worked at a really
unstoppable.
nice Italian restaurant,
Yep.
and I worked the pizza station, which was visible to the. It was kind of out in the dining area, and that pizza oven, it was not gas. I had stacks of logs there, and the first thing I had to do at the beginning of the day was start a fire, and I had to keep that fire at the right temperature throughout the
All day.
day.
Yeah, yeah.
And twice while working there, I smoked out the entire restaurant. They had to evacuate the whole restaurant, interrupt everybody's dinner, everybody leave, and somehow they didn't fire me. But yeah, having those experiences at 16 and 17, yeah, incident response, bring it on. I was
Yeah.
I was ready for this stuff.
It's one of those things where when you've done it enough, and like you said, our ADHD I think does give us kind of a cheat code to high stress situations because
Hyper focus, yeah,
you go instant hyper focus. At least for me and you, we both probably have hyper focus ADHD, which is why if you look at both of our careers, we basically change jobs every few years because we're
yeah.
like
My
bored.
youngest or my oldest child has ADHD, and it presents very differently.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so my oldest child that's the last thing they should do is incident
Oh my
response.
goodness. Same with mine. Yeah, but my youngest has autism and ADHD, undiagnosed, but like I could see my people. um
Yeah. Hmm.
and and she would be perfect for it because she doesn't have that emotional attachment. She's able to kind of
Yeah.
really kind of get into the weeds, but at the same time, like you said, like there's other flavors that can kind of cause some really big heartache. That's why I hate calling it a superpower, but it also is in some cases
Yeah.
a superpower for specific areas. Like for what we
Yeah.
have done, it's
Well,
very beneficial.
you got to be able to turn it off.
Yes.
Understanding, like getting diagnosed with it, I think is important because then you understand how to manage it. Because like that hyper focus is very useful. And then 8 hours have passed and you haven't gotten up from the chair. You haven't
Time
eaten.
blindness. Yeah, you're
You
you're
haven't had
getting
a drink of
fatigued.
water. Yeah, yeah, and you got to be able to still, note the passage of time and take care of yourself.
Yeah. Time blindness is a really bad thing. And when you're working an incident or working a major thing, it's very easy to forget the basics of life.
Yeah.
Um, and people don't like when I tell people I literally forget to eat. They're like, no, that doesn't. No, I mean, I don't even feel the pains of hunger because I am so
Yep.
hyper
Just
focused
turn it
on
all off.
solving
You've had to pee for 5 hours, but your brain has turned
literally.
that off.
It's
Yeah.
my brain just goes, we'll deal with that later. It's
Yep.
not a big
Yep.
deal. And then
It's
you'll
handy if you're on a road trip, you need to get somewhere in a hurry, being able to turn off that signal, like
it,
that can be handy.
it totally is.
Probably not good for like kidney stones and
Yeah,
and
I'm sure we'll suffer from it later, but we'll suffer from a
urinary
lot of
tract
the things.
infections, but it
Well,
served me
I
well
mean,
in the past.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about kind of current now. Like, so I think we both agree that relationships are imperative in this market
Yeah.
to get ahead. A lot of people are doom and glooming AI as kind of taking entry level roles or removing the need for entry level. What are your thoughts on kind of AI kind of taking people's jobs, and where do you see that going in the next few years?
So there are a class of jobs that absolutely need to be taken. They even before AI, they probably shouldn't have been jobs, and these are jobs that are tasks,
Yeah.
right? Where if your job is a simple task, if you were a graphic designer, I say should like in this case it is kind of sad. Like marketing teams hire a lot of contract work,
Mhm.
right? Like we just need a bunch of blog posts to help SEO for the website, right? We don't care what the quality of the blog posts are really. Like they just
Yep.
need to mention these terms so that when people search for these terms, they find our company, and we're on that first page of Google. Now, of course, all this has changed. Like people aren't using search engines as much to find companies, but bear with me on it. So those went away almost overnight. You know, when you could have AI write that blog post because he didn't care about the quality of it, and the output of AI is by design, by training data, mediocre. You know, like the
Yep.
middle of the road from everything it's consumed on the internet. And yeah, overnight that was gone. Overnight, the graphic designer that created an image for the top of the blog post, that was also gone as soon as generative AI could create images. So a lot of that kind of single task job stuff went away. But the stuff that doesn't go away, and I have to stress here, companies don't understand what their employees do. They don't know how productive their employees are. They don't know how work gets done, right? Like that level of understanding within a company is extremely rare. You know, so
Yeah.
the idea that Oracle lays off 30,000 people because AI made them, redundant, that's it's laughable. Like across those 30,000 people, that must have been like 1,000 different job types. Like, there's no way you could sit down with at least one of people in each of those job types, figure out what they do every day that's important, that needs to be replaced by AI or some other kind of deterministic automation. Like, there's no way you took the time to do that. You know, these are just layoffs, and you're using AI as an excuse for them. You know, so I think
Yeah.
that's the vast majority of what we've seen is AI is just the signaling, excuse for laying people
Yeah.
off, for layoffs that you wanted to do anyway. And the reason you do layoffs is you don't understand how work gets done, right? You know, it loops back around. It's like you hire people whose job it is to manage people. So of course those people are going to hire more people, because what success looks like is you have more people working for you, right? You know, so
Yep.
so
Yeah.
it is the nature of a corporation to just grow in employees. And usually one of the biggest costs to an organization are your employees.
Yep.
So
Well,
eventually gets too
yeah.
fat, needs to slim down, have to lay off some people.
Well, it's the doorman fallacy, is I believe what it's called, where basically people think a doorman's job is just to open and close a door, right? They're like,
Mhm.
we could easily replace that with automation, just opening and closing door whenever it sees somebody come. But they don't talk about them getting rid of the homeless guy that's out front panhandling. They don't
Yeah.
talk about them holding the door for the woman who's kind of leaving and then talking to them about their struggles for that day. They don't. There's a billion tasks that a doorman does every day that
Yeah.
is imperative to getting the job done, that you're
Mhm.
not just going to be able to take away and just instantly replace with somebody that opens and closes the door automatically, because that removes a lot of what they do away. But if you never take the time to know what people do, and this is how people get away with working multiple jobs. So a lot of you listening to this who can't find any job know that there are literally thousands of people who work multiple remote jobs, and there's an entire forum on Reddit dedicated to it, Overemployed, where people brag about the multiple jobs that they have and how
Yeah.
one job is their safe job, and then they post strategies about working multiple jobs. And the reason is exactly what Adrian's talking about: is most leaders have no concept or understanding of what their team does, and have no concept or understanding of what success even looks like. They don't take the time to define success criteria. And this is why
Yeah.
people don't get promoted, because like, how do you promote someone when you don't know what they're doing? And
There,
there's so much of that, I think.
there's this. It's probably on YouTube somewhere, but there's this old Living Color sketch. I believe it was Living Color, where it's a Jamaican family, and like if you're only working one job, you're lazy, right? And
Yeah,
they're all
yeah,
bragging about having 12 jobs or 14 jobs or
yeah. And
yeah,
that's I think that's the reality now, is because people are realizing the game is rigged, stability
yeah,
is no longer within the
yeah.
field, that loyalty is going away.
I,
And
I don't see a future where I'm not paying my kids rent at this point.
no,
It's
and
just
that is a sad
insane.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're and it's not because they're not go-getters, it's not because they're not trying, it's not because they're not
Well, the
actively
rent
trying to work.
doubled over the pandemic and did not
It
go
did.
back. Like
No,
it dropped a little bit,
no.
but
You're looking at the median rent for the country at being over $2,100 a month.
yeah,
Like, that's what a lot of people make, right?
yeah.
And so many of these colleges and schools are selling people on the cyber shortage. Adrian, is there a cyber shortage?
Yeah, no. No, there's an overage.
Right. We have
Yeah,
so many people who are graduating every single month. We have 3,800 people or more that graduate with cyber degrees. And then we have a good 900,000 over the last 2, 3 years who've been laid off who are looking for jobs in cyber. And then the estimate is around maybe 30, 40,000 jobs have actually been opened within cyber.
right. And,
That
and and
are
it's not that
open.
simple, right? Like you have to look
Yeah.
at what levels they're looking
Yeah.
for jobs for, right? So yeah, maybe there is a cyber shortage for, mid-level to senior folks.
Sure.
The
Or maybe
positions they want to
AI
fill.
specific or something.
It's
Yeah.
not junior, and
No.
it's a problem because nobody wants to, and it goes beyond just cyber. Like if the entry level role, the junior role for a lot of career paths was something that was just a task, that is something that AI can now do. What does your career pipeline look like?
Yep.
Are you screwed 5 to 10 years from now when you're looking for those mid-level to senior people because nobody was willing to train them up and they all eliminated their junior level roles? Somebody has to skill these people up. Somebody has
Yeah.
to take the inexperienced and make them experienced.
And that is where I see a lot of the problem coming in. And we're already starting to see what you and I have already seen, which is the cost of tokens is going to outweigh what the cost of that replacing that job would be in many cases. And
That's
we're
going to
already
resolve
seeing it.
itself real quick
It
with
is. It
half of
is.
businesses running out their token budget already, like not even halfway through the year.
Yeah, and you
That
know
is
what
a
happens?
hilarious
Yeah.
situation.
And you know what
I
happens when AI
A
runs
little bit
out
of
of tokens?
Schadenfreude over here.
Oh, it totally is. Well, and you know what happens when AI runs out of tokens? It just stops working. Uh,
Yeah,
like, until you pay the problem. It's
it's
literally
madness.
blackmailing you. I mean, it's like an employee being like, it's like your entire workforce. If your entire workforce is AI and you run out of tokens, it's basically them blackmailing you, saying, "We're done working until you pay us more." And the
Yeah.
problem is, these venture capitalists aren't going to keep taking losses, and they're going to
Hmm.
start to raise the cost even more. And as we start to run out of data and compute capabilities, because we will at our current rate of growth,
Yeah.
we can't sustain it. And we're not building enough data centers over the next 10
Hun-
years to be able to grow.
Hundreds of billions of dollars of debt comes due. I think somebody said like spring, like Q1, Q2 of 2027. So
Yep.
that is the ultimate reckoning. Like, how is that debt going to be paid for? Is somebody going to be willing to buy that debt and continue this bubble from going along, or? But you already see them doing it. That's why
Yeah.
$20 a month went to pay for consumption, right?
Yep.
Like a lot of these all you can eat subscriptions are going away, and you have to literally pay for the tokens now, which used to be only something you did on the enterprise side or via API. So we're starting to see signs that they're being forced to charge what it actually costs.
Yeah, instead of the drug dealer model where it's like, hey man, first hit's free.
Yeah.
And then once we get you hooked, that's when we'll go ahead and jack up that price and
And
kind of really show you what it's like.
and it is a distraction. So I think everything else that was important before AI is still important now.
Yeah,
So I would urge folks to not worry too much about it, because I think this thing will self-correct.
I do
It
too.
will kind of implode on itself. AI is going to be around forever, so that's not changing. I'm not saying it's going away, but I think the massive amounts of hype around like just all the dumb shit that
Well, I mean,
these tech
you've got,
execs are saying about jobs
yeah,
being gone, and Bill Gates saying doctors won't be a thing in 10 years.
yeah.
Like,
That to me is, yeah, just absolute
it's a
pure
distraction.
insanity.
Ignore it.
It is.
Focus. Yeah, focus on
Focus
what
on
you
your
were
core
focused
skills.
before AI. It'll still
Yes.
be here.
Tinker, play, learn AI, right? AI is going to be part of your job in some fashion. So learn it,
Yep.
understand its weaknesses, understand, its strengths. There are many, but I put a
And
video out
weaknesses.
recently. Yeah, I put out a video recently, and I said basically you're giving the equivalent of a junior engineer full admin rights, and then just hoping they don't screw you.
I keep
It's
trying. I
crazy.
keep trying to use it,
I do too.
and I'm playing with it. I'm giving it another chance today, but I do have OpenClaw running on something silly over here. I've got OpenClaw running on this little thing. Uh,
It's awesome.
it's actually PicoClaw
Nice.
because
Yeah, yeah.
it's doesn't have much RAM, but it yeah, I asked it to make. I would love an AI agent because I have ADHD, and I'm gonna have to go here in a second. But I just wanted to
Perfect.
share this.
Let's plug your
But
stuff
it's
before you go.
I was like, it would be great if it could be like a project manager for me, like an assistant,
Yeah,
executive
yeah.
assistant, like remind me of things I need to do. Cause I have a lot of projects going on now, and I can easily forget about a project for 2 weeks, where a reminder to, just put in an hour on this project to keep the momentum going would really help me. And so I started trying to ask it to do that. And I just looked at it today and I realized 2 weeks later it never gave me a reminder. And it's gaslighting me. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sure the reminder will go off real soon. I'm like, dude, 2 weeks have passed. Uh, and I'm like, maybe you should use cron for reminders. And it says I do use cron for reminders. So I haven't looked in the back end to see how badly it, maybe it's just making
Is
it
it
up. Maybe,
yeah, is it actually
because it's a
using
Linux
cron
system,
jobs? Yeah, or is it just trying to
right?
tell you that it is? So
Like,
let's
it's just
plug your
using
stuff,
text
man.
files in cron to do stuff.
Right.
So I need to SSH into this thing and see how badly it's screwed up in the back end. But there's a lot of things like planning travel. I'm going to be in Europe for 3 weeks. I tried using AI for some of that. Awful. It was like, oh yeah, this is a 3.5 hour train ride. It's 10 hours.
Yeah.
When I actually go check, it's like, oh, 3.5 hours, we can do this and that. And
When 60,
nope.
70% of the data is basically from Reddit post and social media, like why would we
Yeah.
expect it to be completely accurate? And that's the thing, like garbage in, garbage out. So where can
So
people find you? What do you want them to check out? I appreciate your time as always, brother. So where can
yeah,
they find
so
your shit?
I have some cool projects going on, like most of my thought leadership stuff and my analysis of breaches. I spend a lot of time analyzing how breaches happen, how companies
Yes.
fail. It is going to be at defendersinitiative.com. So that's my Substack. That domain name is going to redirect to my Substack. And another cool project I've worked on is I decided to go out and maintain a list of all the companies that have gone out of business because of a breach, because it's actually a tiny number.
It
And
is.
the myth going around was, oh, this happens all the time. If you don't get security right, you're gonna go out of business, right? I was like, that doesn't sound right. Like, we would literally, it would be, if companies were going out of business as often as people say, like, it would be all over the news. It would be like
It
a
would. Yeah.
catastrophe, right? And
Bloodbath.
yeah, sure enough, there's 33 companies on the list. If you go to destroyedbybreach.com, there's a list of each of those companies, a little bit of the story behind them. I'm going to write these up a bit more in the future, maybe make videos about each one. They are instructive. They're all small companies, too small to be able to weather the breaches that they got hit with. And yeah, those are the two things I'm working on right now. And you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. I have almost daily hot takes on LinkedIn
Yeah, no, man.
or
I
Mastodon.
appreciate
I'm on
Yeah.
Mastodon as well.
Oh, nice. That's the one I haven't got on yet. I should probably create an account just because, and I'm sure at some point we'll all switch to Mastodon. That'll be the new thing.
I'm on other
But
things, but that's the only. I like the community there. I'm on what is the server called? Infosec.exchange. I'm Zawaba. Most places on the internet, if you see SAWABA, that's me.
awesome, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your insights. Everyone else, good luck out there.